Good evening and welcome. My name is Ginger Fay, and I'm one of the directors here at Appleruth, which is a tutoring and test prep company that loves working with students to help them achieve their academic and personal goals. We are thrilled that you are joining us tonight for the first in our Ask Me Anything series. We have gathered together a really dynamic and wonderful group of college students who are going to share their stories from the other side. They will answer any question within reason. And we will try and cover as many topics as we possibly can in the next hour. We're going to start the conversation with just a quick poll to get a sense of who's out there and watching and sharing conversation with us tonight. So if you can take a minute to answer those questions, we would appreciate it. And I'm going to do a quick introduction. To remind you where you are and that we're glad you're here, and that you're welcome to join us for the additional events that will be in this series running through most of June and July. We've got lots of different groups of students, lots of different conversations happening, and we're really delighted to be able to share these insights into college campuses that students might not be able to visit as readily. Hopefully the world is beginning to be opened up for visits and travels and feeling a little more comfortable with that. And if you're able to visit these campuses in person, I hope that you will, but just in case not, you've got a chance to talk to some great students tonight. I wanted to mention that we are in the midst of our summer sale. So if this is the time that you've been thinking about getting started with test prep for the SAT or the ACT, or if you want to get ahead and plan for some academic tutoring in the fall, we'd be glad for you to sign up. There are 3 ways to save. You can call us during office hours. You can visit us at appleruth.com/summer, or you can text June 21 to 44222, and one of our program advisors will call you back. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to this terrific team of college students who are going to share their stories and perspective. And I'm just going to ask them to each introduce themselves so you can get to know them. In the meantime, you audience members are welcome to pop any questions that you have in the chat box, the little Q&A box. So at any point that questions occur to you, we're glad to have you pop them in, and we'll try and get to as many different topics as we can. So I'll let Abby lead us off. Oh no, Cooper's gonna lead. I'm sorry, Cooper, and then Abby.
You're fine. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ginger. Hi, I'm Cooper. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Obviously, I'm a student at the University of Georgia here with my little college swag on. I am a marketing major, and then on campus. Oh, sorry. I'll be a 4th year in the fall, and then on campus, I'm involved in UGA Heroes, which is the 2nd largest nonprofit at UGA. So, yeah, thanks.
Hi, my name's Abby. I'm from Great Falls, Virginia. I am a double major in marketing and computer information systems with a double concentration in business analytics and information systems. And I'm in my junior year at Madison University. I wasn't able to be a part of many clubs because of COVID, but one of the clubs I am a part of is InterVarsity, which is a Christian organization. But yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie. I'm a recent graduate from Indiana University, as you can see. I'm from Alpharetta, Georgia, so about 40 minutes north of the city of Atlanta. And I'm so excited to be with you guys here today. So in college, I majored in human development, family studies with minors in psychology and counseling. And through that major, I interned at the admissions office, and I'm hoping to do something with admissions or, educational consulting post-graduation. So that's a little bit about me.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Burnett. I'm from Milton, Georgia. I'm a rising junior at the University of Georgia. I'm a health promotion major in the College of Public Health. I also have a minor in health policy and management and a certificate in personal organizational leadership. And on campus, I'm involved in the Arts Society, which is an ambassador program for the University of Georgia, and also do campus ministry.
Hi everyone, I'm Haley. I am a recent graduate of the University of Michigan. I'm from Westchester, New York. I majored in business with a minor in creative writing, and something I was involved in on campus was the Michigan Enzian, which is the University of Michigan's official campus yearbook.
Hi, I'm Berkeley. I'm from Rockwall, Texas, which is about 30 minutes from Dallas, Texas. I go to Texas A&M in College Station. My major is allied health and I'm minoring in psychology. Things I'm involved in on campus is I'm in an organization called Future Aggie Nurses. So we get together and learn about different nursing schools around Texas. And I'll be graduating this fall. So.
Thank you all. Thank you so much for being here. What we are celebrating tonight is sort of life at large public universities. And before we got started, we were talking a little bit about these schools have so many incredible opportunities for students to take advantage of, but it requires a certain kind of person to be able to get the most out of the school as fast as you can. I wonder if we could start by talking a little bit about how you figured out what you want to study. Each of you is at a different point in your college journey. Some of you might have started knowing exactly what you wanted to do, and some of you might have changed along the way. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about how your school has helped you figure out what you wanted to do. Sarah, I wonder if you might lead us off, because I know UGA has a really strong program for getting students through that first year and figuring out what they want to do. And then if anyone else wants to join that part of the conversation, please do.
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely a difficult journey for me. I came into college an exercise and sports science major, and I was going to be a physical therapist, and I had done internships in that in high school, and I was completely set on it. And in that first kinesiology class, I was like, maybe this is not for me. So I then switched to human development family science for an occupational therapy kind of track with that. And I felt a lot better about it, but I still felt like it wasn't the perfect fit for me. As I kind of finished out my freshman year, I still felt like maybe there's something else I would better align with my skills and my interests. And so something that really helped me, which one reason why I intern there now, is the UGA Career Center. I went there as a lost freshman, kind of saying, I don't know what to do. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like. Here's kind of what I want to study. And they really kind of helped me hone my interests and kind of figure out what was going to work with my schedule and my timing, and then also just my likes and dislikes. And something else I'll also say really helped was UGA has a mentor program too. And I've been kind of deciding about that healthcare administration kind of decision for my career. And I ended up talking to some healthcare administrators through the UGA mentor program and really liked that, and really felt like that kind of organization and those kind of skills that I really felt like I had kind of aligned with my love of healthcare in that way. So that's how I ended up switching to health promotion for this year. And I feel like it's the perfect fit for me. So I feel like those two resources definitely helped me a lot to just kind of have that conversation with people and really like hear about their experiences, honest and open, and just kind of get that personal experience I needed to figure out.
Thanks, Sarah. Does anyone else want to share an experience they had in figuring out what they wanted to do? Anybody go into school undecided and have to figure it out, or did everybody already have an idea what they wanted to do? I know Haley knew she wanted to be in business.
Well, I did come in undecided. I was kind of torn between doing something in kind of the technology computer related, like engineering, or something more creative like marketing. So I actually took my entire first year to think about it. And so that's when I did all my gen ed classes. And by the end of my first year, I still had no clue. So I decided to do both. So now I'm double majoring. I have my marketing and I also have computer information systems. So I'm able to kind of get the best of both worlds and a little bit of everything that I enjoy.
I like, Abby, the answer to being undecided is don't decide, just do them both. I think that's really great. And you're fortunate at JMU to be able to do that. One of the questions that we got in preparation for tonight was the question about Greek life. Is it important to join a fraternity or sorority? Is that an essential part of the college experience? What happens if you do? What happens if you don't? Cooper, I wonder if you could kind of start that conversation. And Jamie, I know you are really involved in your sorority, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about that experience too. And if other people want to join in, feel free.
Yeah. Okay. So going into college, I wasn't really sure if that was for me. And I quickly realized it wasn't. So I didn't join one. But I will say if you do join one, like that is good for you. My sister joined one, and that is a great way to make friends really quick. So I would definitely say that, but I would say if you don't join one, you definitely have to work to make the campus feel a bit smaller, only because a lot of your friends like will be joining them, and then you might feel a little left out. But at a very big school, like if you just like try, it's not that difficult to make the campus feel smaller. So I would definitely say join like as many things as possible right when you first get to college, and then like I mean, if you don't like it, like just quit. I mean, like, what are they gonna do to you? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so I just joined a bunch of different clubs at first, and then I found like one or two that I really like. So I just like kept doing them, and then like I made my friends there. Um, so yeah, like it worked out great for me, I would say.
I totally agree with Cooper on pretty much all of that. From my experience, I knew that Greek life was something I wanted, and I knew that IU had, a lot of sororities, a lot of fraternities. So I did decide to seek that out and really enjoyed my experience. I will say, I feel like we're all about honesty here. I think at Indiana, it's great if you do join, because I think that from the students I've known, it's kind of the easiest way to, get that like group of people that are kind of like your social people for whenever you want to go out to dinner, things like that. I feel like at IU, that's kind of the main way that people, break out into those friend groups and things. But that's not to say that there are so many other, options and opportunities to choose from. I know that IU, and I'm sure all of the schools here on this panel, they have like 750 clubs that you can join. And so similar to Cooper, I was in Greek life and then signed up for like 20 clubs and then ended up being involved in, a few. But I think my personal experience at IU, I think being in Greek life made it a lot easier. But if that's something you're not into, I would definitely say don't do it, because, it's that big time commitment. And that, may end up being one of the things that, you'll do throughout your 4 years. So if you're interested, totally do it. But if you're not, I would say don't. And there are plenty of other ways to kind of figure that out. But within sororities and fraternities, there are a lot of like leadership opportunities, which I loved, community service, really easy way to make friends, socialize, and kind of explore IU a little bit with people that you've just met from all over the country. So I had a great experience, but then again, it's not for everyone. It is for some people. So however you want to do it, I'm sure you'll be a-okay.
Thank you both for those perspectives. I think that's really helpful. The other one thing I didn't know before I went to college was that it's really expensive to join a fraternity or sorority. I just had literally no idea. I didn't know a lot about college before I got there. So I think that's also some, a consideration for some people might be that, the cost of it is prohibitive. And so there are other ways that you can get involved and create community for yourself. There are also different kinds of fraternities and sororities. So there's IFC fraternities and National Panhellenic sororities, but there are also historically Black colleges and historically Black fraternities and sororities, the Divine Nine, they're often called. And that can be a sense of community for some students. There are also fraternal organizations that aren't residential, but are more oriented towards academic interests, or might be like APO was a big one where I went to college, that was a service fraternity that was co-ed. So there's lots of different ways to explore life if you want it to be Greek to you, I guess. Can you tell us, Berkeley, a little bit about your experience knowing exactly what you want to do professionally? How's your school given you opportunities to practice nursing and get some exposure so that you will be a really strong candidate professionally when you're on the other side?
Yeah, well, unlike the others, I luckily came into college knowing exactly what I wanted to do, and I've like stuck with it the past 3.5 years. Well, A&M has an organization called Future Aggie Nurses. And with this, you get to meet other people in your major, which is super nice if you need study buddies or just like anything like that. Like I've met a few people during my application process for nursing schools, and we've just helped each other out. So it's been really nice to do that. And in this, we have meetings with different nursing schools, like their advisors, and they tell us their application process, their requirements, their prereqs. And it's been like very, very knowledgeable of like knowing what I need to do for like applications and for different schools that I could possibly apply for. So One thing that's really, really helped me was joining this org and then meeting friends that are along the same journey as I am. So I feel like I'm not alone in the entire process.
That's terrific. Haley, you have done it. You have graduated from college and you, I believe, are gainfully employed. Is that true?
Yes.
I remember my parents doing the happy dance around the house when I was off the family payroll, as they described it. So can you tell us a little bit about, were you able to use the career services at Michigan? Did you feel like you had good support as you were getting ready to launch yourself in your professional career?
Yeah, definitely. So I had kind of an interesting experience. I knew I wanted to go to business school because I loved advertising growing up, and my parents kind of said, you should go get a marketing degree. I ended up at Michigan. I came in as a freshman and said, I want to do advertising, which isn't really a common route for business majors at Michigan. So, I ended up in advertising. So that's what I'm doing now, but it was definitely a journey of working with the Career Center to explore everything that was out there. Like, I didn't want to pass up the opportunity of having all of those resources and having this alumni network and my peers in so many different fields. So actually, while it was not the straight path that I thought I was going to have, I'm very grateful for it. Michigan was super supportive, even though it wasn't a super common path. I was able to connect with a ton of alumni. I used a career coach who helped me along the way of the entire thing. I used her for all 4 years. And yeah, on top of that, Michigan offers a ton of sessions that you can go to. So it was just a great experience to learn about everything that's out there. And then, once you narrow it in, there's a ton of people to talk to. And that was super helpful in finding a job.
Terrific, congratulations. So we've talked a little bit about sort of the end of the college experience. I wonder if we can sort of doodly-doo, go back in time and remember what it was like before you got to college and think a little bit about that, kind of going through the admissions process. We had a student who sent a note earlier today asking, what if I don't get into my dream school? And so I wonder if anyone would be willing to share a little bit of their journey and sort of how you felt when you got a skinny envelope. I appreciate you don't actually get envelopes or mail or anything like that anymore, but in the olden times, we used to get mail and it would tell you whether or not you got into college, and you could tell by the envelope even before you opened it. Big, thick envelopes were good news and little skinny envelopes were usually bad news. And so I wonder if anyone would kind of share a little bit about sort of how they felt about their college choices before they got there and how you reflect on that now on the other side of the college process, wearing your swag as you are. Abby, do you want to go first?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So one thing I really wish I would have known when I was looking at colleges is that it's not the end of the world if you don't get into your dream school. Anybody who knew me in high school, Ginger, you can attest to this. I had my heart set on Virginia Tech. I wanted to go there for years, probably since elementary school. I was a part of countless after school activities. I was in yearly summer programs, and I was constantly looking out for summer or community service activities. I really thought that I was going to get in. And so when I got back the notification that I was waitlisted and then denied, I was crushed. I had been dreaming of going there practically my whole life, and it really did seem like the end of the world. But I had a plan. I had planned that I would do my first year at James Madison and then transfer over my sophomore year. And so everything would go back kind of to the way I had originally planned it to be. But probably not even after a month at JMU, I knew there was no way that I could leave. I made so many amazing friends, memories, and I just couldn't leave it behind. And honestly, I really didn't want to. Each day I spent at JMU, Virginia Tech became less and less appealing. And I kind of realized that I was focusing so hard on Virginia Tech my entire life. I was really closing myself off to other opportunities that I could have had. And so I know some people here are probably really focused on getting into that one dream school, and you probably don't care what I say. You probably really want to get in, but from my experience, and I know this is the case for a lot of my friends, getting into your dream school isn't everything, and maybe even getting in could be a blessing in disguise.
Thank you, Abby. I so appreciate that. And having known you through that journey, it thrills me how much you have come to love JMU and how incredibly fortunate they are. And this is all Tech's loss, I'm just saying. Cooper, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, so I really wanted to go, oh, I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but I really wanted to go to Georgia Tech, not for that long as you, Abby, but definitely for like most of my senior year. But I think I realized like now, part of the reason why I wanted to go there is because I knew the school like was like a really good school like for really smart people. And so like I wanted to say like that I was going to Georgia Tech. And so I don't really know how else to say this, but I swear like when you start college, like you will just like kind of forget that like, oh my god, like I'm not like at my dream school. Like once you get there, like you will have so much stuff like that is just like, you know, like going on and stuff, like trying to meet people, etc., that like you will literally just like forget, to be honest, because I did. Yeah, and now looking back, I'm definitely glad that I'm, you know, rocking like the red and black and not the white and gold or whatever those people do. But yeah.
Haley?
Yeah, if I could just add to that, I didn't get into my ED school. It felt like the end of the world because you only hear about people getting into their early schools. I remember that being like really crazy, walking the halls of high school and seeing everyone super excited. But something reflecting back on it, which is a really hard piece of advice to hear, but I think my understanding is that college admissions counselors look for a fit. So just because you didn't get in doesn't mean that you're not good enough, doesn't mean that you're not smart enough, just means that you weren't a fit for that school. So in that sense, it's kind of the best thing to happen to you because, you know, if the college doesn't think you're a fit, then it probably wouldn't have worked. So that was a mindset I tried to have on it. I think, you know, all of us are probably a testament to that. It works out for the best. It's just a waiting thing. It's a hard thing to kind of deal with, but it's just time and, you know, it'll all work out.
And if it doesn't, you can transfer. I'll just I will say. But I think most people find, even when they think about pursuing the transfer process, they just click their heels together. And Dorothy says there's no place like home. You know, sometimes when you do the things to be a really compelling transfer student, you find the things that your school had there to offer all along, and you're more prepared to take advantage of them. I was talking with a student recently, actually, who thought that she wanted to transfer from a very large school. That was her dream. She had like the rah-rah college, you know, kind of in mind. And then of course she got there and it's hard to meet people and you leave your dorm and you don't see anybody you know the whole day potentially. And it was overwhelming for her. She had gone to a really small school and she had gone there for a long time. And so it was really difficult. And her parents gave her the advice that you can make a big school small, but it's hard to make a small school big. And Berkeley, I know you've been able to make your big school small through the nursing program. I wonder if there's any other advice that you guys have about how to find your place, right? Jamie, you found yours in your sorority. Like, are there other ways that people might suggest for like finding your home base within that bigger context? Sarah, do you want to start? Oh, sorry, Berkeley, were you going to go first? Berkeley's going to go and then Sarah.
I'm sorry, but I was just going to say, me personally, just like asking questions in class, making friends like in class, because like those are going to be the people that you sit next to 3 times a week or 2 times a week, like, and just maybe like exchanging numbers. Like, it's not even like I'm going to apply for this organization or I'm going to run for this Greek life, or I don't know how Greek life works, but just like even just talking to people in your classes, people are going to see every week. Like, you don't have to go like and apply for stuff. Like, you can make friends in that small group, and then those are people, just like I said earlier, that are going to be taking probably the same other classes as you if y'all are in the same major and stuff. So that's something I've definitely tried to do, is like be out there in my classes. So
Thank you. Sarah, any thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I was an involvement ambassador last year at UGA. So I've had a lot of students come to me with very similar questions of how do I make a big school smaller, and how do I even go about doing that within the involvement sphere. And something I always told them was to pick organizations or clubs that had that bigger kind of atmosphere, but that also broke up into smaller groups too. So I joined UGA Miracle. I really like it had that big feel for when I wanted that kind of big rah-rah, dance marathon kind of vibe. But then I also was on a committee that was a lot smaller, and I got to know those people a lot more individually and got to make a lot of friends through that. And so I think just choosing your organizations with intention and seeing which organizations prioritize, that small group time, but also that big group time is really important. And then at the same time, also looking at organizations that are social outside of, meetings. Because sometimes it's hard to just go to a meeting that's 30 minutes long where they give some slides and then you go. It's hard to meet people through that. So, organizations that maybe had dinners after their meetings, you could meet people, organizations that had, dances or socials or things like that, where you could, meet people and socialize that way. So I think just being really intentional when you're picking kind of things to get involved in of, are they making time and making effort to create these opportunities that you can meet people in a smaller settings. That was something that was easier for me to meet people in.
I think, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sadie.
I think also I just want to add on really quick too. For me, it sounds very cliche, but the most like special and closest friends I had through college were pretty much right in front of me or right next door. I've got 10 really great friends from my freshman year floor. And I know floors are completely random, but sometimes it just kind of works out that way where your best friend can be, the person living right next to you or your roommate. And so I think a lot of times because, so many people are like, let's try to make this big school smaller, almost puts pressure on you. Like, where do I need to start? What organizations do I need to join? But for me, it was almost like when I got there, everyone's in the same place as you, right? Not everyone knows the 40,000 people, 30,000 people at their school. So I kind of just, was like, all right, I'm a freshman at this school. I don't know that many people. And I feel like a lot of people are in that similar boat. And then from there, I met so many people on my floor and then so many people in my classes. So I think like, you can take a deep breath and be like, everyone is in my spot that I'm in. And so many of my really good friends I seriously found from my floor. And I think my floor friends are some of my closest friends and class friends and all that. So I just think that's something to add to, that a lot of times your really good friends and those people that you've been waiting to meet are sometimes right next to you. Sounds cheesy, but it was true for me. So
That's very sweet. I do maybe want to ask a little bit about residential life in general. Maybe a couple of people could talk about their experience of whether they wanted to be on campus, if they moved off campus. I know some schools it's like cool to live off campus, and other places it's just a pain to live off campus. And sometimes you don't have as great a roommate experience as Jamie has described, and you've got to figure out who to ask for help and how to negotiate those kinds of situations. So I wonder if anyone would share sort of that kind of experience about sort of on and off campus living and what's good and bad about each of those things. And then any advice about how you negotiate a tough situation when you're living in such an intimate setting. Anybody want to start us off?
I can talk a bit about it. So I lived on campus my freshman year, and then my sophomore and junior year, I was in Greek housing, and then senior year, I was off campus. I think there are so many great things about on-campus living that you don't really realize until you leave. One of those was that when I moved from the dorm to my sorority house, I realized that, having, I guess it's still a subset, but when you live in a dorm, it's like you have people from all parts of campus, of all majors, from all backgrounds. And that was something really special about the dorm that I kind of missed the second that I moved away from it. Having close proximity to the dining halls and, the laundry. There are so many great things about living on campus that I think sometimes I know I was a little too focused on like, what's next. But that's something that I really enjoyed. And I think if you have the opportunity to live on campus for at least your freshman year, I would definitely do it.
Yeah, definitely your freshman year, I would say go on campus just because, all the students there are also not going to know people and they're all going to be looking for a buddy, like to go like grab some food with or something like that. And so I don't know if y'all schools do this, but at Georgia, like in my dorm, when we got there, like our door wouldn't close. So we would just like keep them, like propped and then just kind of like wave to people like as like you walk by. It's kind of surprised like just the people that you would meet simply like, like just by walking to like your dorm. Or if like you're lost, like go ask, like a student maybe, because chances are you're both gonna fall. And so like making friends through kind of small things like that, like your dorm, like is, yeah, like that's real, like people do.
Thank you. I did meet a lot of people because I had a very well positioned dorm room my freshman year, which is my roommate and I let everyone into the hall, like, because it was the fire door and no one remembered their key, and so I met every single person because I let them in. So sometimes, and I think that speaks a little bit to what Jamie was saying earlier about just, you kind of sometimes just get to know the people who are right around you, and there are good resources to be had there. Has anybody found an adult, and how did you find them? Like, did you find a mentor? Did you find an advisor? Did you find your RA? Was there anyone who kind of went out of their way to be helpful to you as you navigated the journey? And how did you find that person, and how did they help you?
I can start on this one. So I actually came into A&M as a student athlete. I was recruited, so my application process coming from high school is kind of different. So I came in as a student athlete, and we were required to do once a week meetings with like the A&M sports psychologist. And now I'm just a full-time student, decided volleyball isn't really for me. I kind of just want to be a student for once in my life. And the sports psychologist still reaches out, asks me how I'm doing. And he's like, once an athlete, always an athlete, like here for you always. And he's just someone who I can like, if I need to just randomly call him or get advice, or just be like, hey, I'm really stressed about this thing right now. And like, he was the first person that when I came into college, like made me really feel like, okay, it's going to be okay here. Like I have adult, because even though we're adults, sometimes I feel like I'm such a baby and I need my mommy and daddy around. So it was nice to have like an adult that I trusted there, and he didn't care whether I was a student or an athlete anymore. Like he was there for me no matter what. So that was my experience with the sports psychologist at A&M.
Thanks, Berkeley. Anybody else? Or have you been that person for someone else? Did you have a roommate who was going through a hard time, or a sorority sister, or somebody who kind of needed your mentorship and you turned the table a little bit and supported them?
I can kind of speak to, I guess, both parts of that. I know I mentioned earlier my career counselor, who I guess technically wasn't my career counselor, but I kind of self-selected that, was so helpful. I think my academic advisor too. I think being close with those advisors, your career advisor, your academic advisor, whoever, is more helpful to you. Maybe it's both, like it was for me. I think that's so important, just to keep on track. And they've seen students go through every possible scenario. So just to have someone who's seen it all and also has a network of students who've gone through it all, I think that's super helpful. With that being said, I think it's always really nice if you can find an older kid on campus. I know for me, that was really great in helping find what classes I wanted to take. And, this professor's great, or this club you should really join. So I know that a lot of the kids from my high school who then were at the University of Michigan were super helpful when I first decided to go there. And that's something I've tried to, give back to the people that come from my area that I know, and kind of be there as, maybe not necessarily a mentor, but just someone that they can come to with questions. And I think that, answering those questions goes way longer of a way than it takes for us to answer them. So that's something that I've tried to do the past 4 years.
Thanks, Haley. I wanted to ask a little bit about study abroad, which I appreciate has been kind of complicated for people, which is to say, by complicated, that is to say impossible in the last 18 months at least. But I wonder if people have thought about going abroad, got a chance to do it, didn't get to do it, and sort of how that may or may not have factored into the process for you. Jamie, I know you had an experience to study abroad. Would you share that with us?
Yeah, of course. So a lot of people at Indiana University decide to study abroad in the spring semester of their junior year. So that was, of course, right around when COVID was starting. So I for me, wanted to go abroad to somewhere where I could get credits for my major to transfer over. So there are a bunch of abroad programs, I'm sure, at all of our schools because they're so big. I know IU is like number 6 in the country or something. I'm sure all of our schools have, you can really go anywhere you want. And that was something I was really looking forward to. So, you have those like bigger abroad programs where you can go with, like, in my case, everyone in the Big Ten or something like that. You have like those really big abroad programs, and then you have like the smaller abroad programs, and then you have your major specific abroad programs. So for me, I went abroad through the School of Public Health, which was my school, and I went to Melbourne, Australia. And it was a later start date, and it started in around February. So I got there February 14th, something like that. So I was only there for 4 weeks, but still get to say I went abroad, I guess. But I mean, it was so awesome. Of course, it was really hectic, and I think I went in a really small program where I was an exchange student with 2 other people. So I think our program, because it was so much smaller, our university was like, you can stay if you want while the pandemic is going on. You can go home. You can kind of do what you want. But then around me, so many of my friends were in Europe or Sydney, Australia, and all of their programs, because they were so big, they were all getting canceled. So it was definitely kind of a chaotic chaotic time period, and my parents were like, you're coming home because we don't want you to get stuck there. But and I would have, because Melbourne's like still on shutdown, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. So I did come home after 4 weeks. My parents were like, we're booking you a flight, we don't care what you say. So I got home, but I will say the time I was there, it was so awesome. And like I was saying, I did it through my school and through my major. So I was taking classes that really closely aligned with what I was taking at IU. And something cool also is that I got to pay IU tuition instead of the abroad tuition, because I was an exchange student. So it was, I mean, an amazing experience. Even though I was only there for 4 weeks, the faculty was great. They had really tight ties with, so many of the schools like IU and so many of the other ones as well. I met some really awesome Australian people while I was there. So, I'm so happy I did it. I obviously wish I could have stayed for the full, 4 months that I was supposed to stay for. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was an indescribable experience, and I'm very fortunate that I got to do it, even in the midst of a pandemic. So that was my experience with it.
That's awesome. Has anyone chosen not to study abroad kind of intentionally and thoughtfully, like never wanted to do that or decided not to do it? Has anyone had that experience? Because I always, when I was a tour guide, people asked all the time about study abroad, but they didn't ask about why not. Right. And where I went to school, it was about 50% of the students studied abroad. And so, if you didn't go, your roommate did. And so I didn't study abroad when I was in college. I did when I was in graduate school, but I didn't do it in college because I wanted to be in charge of things. And if you were away, it was difficult to get elected president of an organization. So that was like my secret sauce, like why I wound up not going abroad while I was in college. So I just wonder if anyone else had a thought or experience like that. Cost can sometimes be a factor too, as Jamie was saying. Sometimes your school has a really great program like I do at IU, and other times abroad can be more expensive, just the travel itself, but you also paying tuition at another school. It can also be sometimes problematic to transfer credits back. Every college has its own sort of credit policies. And if you brought in a certain number of credits through AP classes, for example, or IB program, you might not have that many classes you could spend elsewhere and still graduate from your school. One of the things that we talked about a little bit earlier was about internship opportunities. And I know both Abby and Cooper have taken advantage of some internship opportunities that have been important parts of their experience. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that, because there's some things you learn from your classes, but then there are some things that you learn by doing. So Abby, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I'm the kind of person who always has to be doing something. This was the same way in high school. I did something every single summer, sometimes during the school year. And so when I got to college, I started looking for internships right away. Obviously, some people might think that's a little overkill. Why do you need an internship your freshman year? But it was something I really did want to do. And if that's something that you want to do, my one piece of advice is make sure you get a start on it pretty early. So if you're looking for a summer internship, maybe start looking during your fall semester. I'm actually in my 3rd internship right now, and I absolutely love it. And I honestly, I would recommend it to anybody who is even slightly interested. And again, I know most people don't usually start worrying about it to their junior year, but in my opinion, the earlier you get started, the better, the more experience you're getting. And it does make you more marketable, in my opinion, in the future. Um, and you get a lot more stuff on your resume. So it's kind of a win-win. And yeah, like Ginger said, it's a lot different than working in a classroom setting, because when you're in a classroom, you're kind of working on this curriculum, while in internships, you're getting real world experience. You're working along professionals in your industry that you want to do. And so you get a little bit of a sneak peek and kind of what your future might hold.
Yeah, okay, so going off of that, okay, so I chose to build my resume like through plugging in like to organizations on campus. And so I think it's kind of or like it can be kind of scary to search for like that real world stuff kind of like when you first get to college, because you're going to be like, my resume only says like things that I did before college, like what do I do? So a great way like to prepare yourself for that is just like join things like on campus, because then you can put them, you know, like on your resume. But definitely one of the benefits of going to a bigger school is a lot of like the graduates like will now work like for companies that like you might want to work for. So like for the career fair, um FedEx like to us, and all three of like the representatives like had gone like to Georgia. So I like got to meet them and like got like to know them really personally. Like now like that's where I'm working like for the next, you know, like weeks. So it's a great way like to get to meet people by going to like a really big school, because chances are like, I mean, most companies are probably going to, you know, like be working with some people like that probably went to your school, and like those people that did go to your school, like they are going to want like to set you up to work there, and they're going to want to set you up to succeed. So getting to meet those people and those types of like career fairs, job fairs, etc., is extremely useful. Because I mean, if they're going to vouch for somebody to work, you know, at, like their company, they're probably going to want to vouch for somebody that went to their school, because like they're going to know them better, and kind of like know like their program and like what classes they took, etc. So definitely taking advantage of like the network of graduates and students at your school that work at companies where you want to work for is like definitely one of the best things about going to a really big school.
Thanks, Cooper. Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about the Honors College at UGA? And was that part of what drew you there? Is it, has it been an important part of your experience? And is it one of those ways that you can make a big school smaller?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was very interested in kind of an honors program at kind of any school I looked at, because I definitely felt like that was a way I could definitely make a school seem smaller and kind of take advantage of some cool opportunities that different universities offered. And the honors program really made a huge impact on my freshman year, because having those kind of smaller classes, I had classes that were about 20 students, and that was really, really nice, especially as a freshman, you know, just not having that overwhelming atmosphere of like a 300-person lecture. And I'm really good friends with all my professors that are over those classes now. So that's really good for, you know, recommendations down the line and things like that. I really got to know them on a personal level. So I feel like from that perspective, that was really nice. I feel like I got to, you know, ask questions more comfortably, like learn the content better from that angle. And then also something I'm really, that I think is really awesome and I'm part of is the Honors Program Student Council at the University of Georgia. So I was kind of went to the programs freshman year, but then I joined it this past year to kind of start planning those programs. And so they have a mentor program, a student-to-student mentor program. And so I took advantage of that freshman year. And so kind of like Haley was saying earlier, having that older student to just kind of guide you through classes is, or in just your whole university experience is really, really valuable. And I had one that was matched by my major, kind of my interests, and she was just kind of a friend and someone I could just say, you know, how do I work this kind of platform? How do I sign up for this class, or what should I be kind of getting involved in within this? So just having someone to kind of bounce ideas off of, if there was a student that was going through it and had gone through it recently, I thought was really, really valuable. And something else that I thought was really cool was we had a student roundtable that the Honors Program Student Council put on. And so we had a bunch of students who were super involved in campus, and you got to talk to them for a couple of minutes and kind of rotate through them, kind of like a speed dating sort of thing. And that was really kind of how I made my kind of master list kind of after freshman year of what I wanted to get involved in, kind of going in those next couple of years, because it was really nice being able to talk to someone like, why do you like this organization? What has it taught you? What have you gotten out of it? And kind of talk to those students who are really passionate about certain things. And so Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be an honors teaching assistant this year, so I'll be teaching that like first year seminar that all the freshmen take to kind of learn about the honors program. So yeah, I can't talk about it enough, but I think it's an awesome program.
That's great. And it comes full circle. Okay, so I know we have at least 2 tour guides in this group, but I'm going to ask all of you to pretend to be tour guides for a minute, remote tour guides, and think of the place on campus, on your campus, that you would take us to if we could visit you in person instantly. Where would you take us, and what would we see or do or eat or whatever it is when we got there that would really be like the quintessential experience of your school? Haley, do you want to start us off at Big Blue?
Yeah, sure. So I would hope it would be a fall Saturday in the morning, because I would take you from the Diag, which is the heart of the campus of University of Michigan. That's where a lot of the academic buildings are. And then there's this walk down to the Big House, which is Michigan's football stadium. It's also the largest stadium in the United States. And I think just like the feeling of everyone dressed in maize and blue, I'm sure a bunch of other schools can kind of relate to this, but just like walking in such a large pack of people. And then I know every time I walk into Michigan Stadium, I get chills because it's filled with, it's usually like 111,000 people, something crazy like that. And it's just like a truly incredible thing to be a part of. Words can't describe it. I know I didn't really believe that when people said that to me, and I'm not, the biggest sports fanatic in the world, but just to be a part of something like that, there's truly nothing like it. So, fingers crossed, it sounds like football's happening. So if you can get to Ann Arbor, that's where I would take you.
Super. Abby, where would we go at JMU if you were taking us on a tour?
JMU has so many amazing places, so it's kind of hard to pick just one. But a few of them, the quad is amazing. It's kind of like the heart of campus. And you can just sit there, play with a frisbee, hang out with your friends, really do anything. But then we also have the stadiums. That's where all of our football games. Hopefully we'll get back to that soon. And it's just really a great environment. The first touchdown of each game, everyone throws streamers, cannons go off. It's amazing. But my personal favorite, well, it's nothing too special, but Hillside. The special thing is occasionally JMU will rent out, I guess, puppies. And there will just be a ton of puppies on campus. They switch up locations, but I know Hillside had them a lot. I remember they once even brought a llama. I don't know why, but they brought llamas. And so yeah, seeing all the animals on campus, having them bring in animals, especially during finals week, that's honestly my favorite time of the year is finals week, because they bring in puppies. So yeah, probably those 3.
Thank you. Jamie, you were a real tour guide. So where you would take us at IU may or may not be on the official tour, but where would you take us, and what would we experience if we wanted to be a real Hoosier?
Man, like they were saying, there are so many places. I mean, the stadium is amazing, but where I think I would take someone, there's this walk from kind of the central part of campus, and I love it in the fall, especially because all the leaves are changing color out in the Midwest where there's the 4 seasons. I'm like, where I'm from in Atlanta. But so I would take you through Ballantyne Hall and all the big class buildings, and then you end up in this spot called the Sample Gates, which is one of our staples and on all the IU pamphlets. And if you look up Indiana University, that's usually what you see. So there are 2 Sample Gates, and the Sample Gates, I sound like such a tour guide right now, I'm sorry. The Sample Gates kind of open up into our downtown area, and I love downtown Bloomington. It's like obviously not like a New York City. It's not, the biggest city in the world, but it's an amazing like college town feel. And I really was looking for a college town type of place for my undergrad. That's just what I was really looking for. So it's like the hustle and bustle of all these students going to the coffee shops and going to the restaurants and, studying with their friends. And it's just so beautiful with all the trees changing color. And then we would go eat at my favorite restaurant on 4th Street, which is called Siam House. We have a street in in downtown Bloomington that has like the most ethnic restaurants, second to New York City on one street. And it's my favorite Thai restaurant. And there's a battle between Siam House and another restaurant. And it's a really fun like thing to be a part of. So I'd take you to my favorite one. But just walking around downtown Bloomington by the sample gates with all the food and the coffee shops, feeling like you're in a city when you're really not, even though it kind of is a city, but it's a little bit smaller than in New York City. Like I said, just has to be one of my favorite things. So.
Sounds great. Berkeley, if we come to A&M, where are you going to take us? What do we need to see?
Well, I was gonna take y'all to the football field, Kyle Field, but then Haley went up to me saying that their football stadium's #1. They're the biggest. I think A&M's like the 3rd biggest stadium. So it's still pretty big. It's up there, but Haley did one up me a little bit. So instead, I would take y'all to the Academic Plaza. This might be a little biased, but one of my favorite movies is Monsters University. And one of the producers or directors actually went to A&M. So if you watch the movie, the Academic Plaza in Monsters University is structured the same way as A&M's. So I would say that fun fact or whatever. I'd be like, oh yeah, we're basically famous. We're on a Pixar movie. But yes, so I would take y'all to Kyle Field in the Academic Plaza.
That basically means that you went to college with the, Billy Crystal, a giant eyeball. All right, so Cooper and Sarah, you guys might coordinate a little bit to tell us your favorite spots at UGA, where we'd need to go, what we'd need to see, and how we would know we were kind of having the essential Athens experience.
Okay, you seem really involved in Georgia, so I feel like we're gonna agree on Tate Student Center. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I would take you to Tate because I was there as a lost freshman. I did not know what I wanted to do. I did not know like really what clubs that I really wanted to join. And so all of like the clubs like in groups will go to Tate right school starts, and it seems like they all want to be, like your friend, and like they really want you to join. And so I walked to countless different like groups, I joined like a bunch of different things. And so if it wasn't for like the welcoming spirit like in our student center, when I first got to college, like I would not have had sort of like the great time that I've really like loved at Georgia. So I would take you to Tate Student Center because all the students want to be your best friend.
Sarah, same for you?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, yeah, definitely Tate. And there's a really cool kind of view where Tate connects to the MLC, which is kind of our library student center kind of thing. There's a bridge that you can see dining halls, you can see the stadium, you can see some buildings from North Campus, the resident halls, and it's kind of just a cool like 360 view of campus that I always take students on with tours, because it's just a great way to kind of just look around and see all of campus. And then I think a close second would be just a North Campus quad, because you've got Athens downtown right there. You can walk across, get your Starbucks, come back and go on a picnic blanket and do some studying. You have the chapel bell, people ringing it if they're celebrating something right there, and just all the cool old buildings. So that'd be a close second for me.
I love it. Well, thank you for taking us on this stationary tour of your schools and showing us a little bit about what it's like when life is on campus and how much fun it can be. I think it's exciting to know that most college campuses are planning to be as in person as possible in the fall. Lots and lots of schools are requiring students to be vaccinated if they're able, and faculty and staff as well, to make sure that they can create a safe environment for students and maintain all those experiences both on and off campus that make college the amazing journey that it has been for all of you. We have just a few minutes left, and so I want to take a moment and let you all kind of reflect as we're talking with, we've got a lot of high school students and parents of high school students getting ready to embark on this college admissions process, and think about when you were in their shoes and what advice you would have for them. If you can think about either a piece of advice that you got that you are really glad you took, or you wish you had taken, or that piece of advice that you would give your younger self if you could Bill and Ted's it and like go back in time and talk to your younger self and give some good advice. What's that one little piece of nugget? It could be a resource, could be a piece of advice, could be a path you took that you would recommend. What's your parting words of wisdom for us? Haley, do you want to start us off?
Sure. And I'm actually funny if I wrote myself this post-it that I wanted to say, and then it says you can make a big school smaller and you can't make a small school bigger, which we already talked about. So I guess that was what I planned to share. With that being said, that was something I was hesitant about. I assume if you're watching this panel, you have some interest in large schools. I didn't really, to be honest. And I was a little bit nervous about going to a big school, but I think something that I'm really, really happy and proud that I did is, take that leap and go to that big school. I think the resources are unmatched. And you just have to know that you're going to have to seek things out. It's not like in high school when, people are kind of holding your hand a bit more and you get a bit more attention, being in smaller classes. It's definitely nerve-wracking being at a big school, but if you know yourself well enough to find what you need and you don't, shy away from asking questions, you'll figure it out. And I think it's super rewarding. So that's my advice.
Thanks, Haley. Sarah, do you want to go next?
Yes, yeah. I think definitely one of the things that I've said a lot since kind of coming out of freshman year that I felt like I learned was to not fall into that comparison trap that I feel like is all too easy freshman year of just saying, everyone's involved in this and they're doing this. Should I need to be doing that? Where am I? Am I good enough? Am I doing everything I need to be doing? I think that was a big worry that I had, and just kind of looking around and saying, am I having the college experience that I've always wanted? And I think that's just a lot of pressure to put on yourself, one, but I think just realizing too that you're going to have your own individualized experience at college, and that's good, and that's how it should be. And so just to realize that college isn't a race and you can't win college. So if you're going at the pace that you feel like you should be and you're doing things about and you're getting involved in whatever pace that may be, it may look different than the person next to you, and that's okay. And I feel like just realizing, where am I at for me? That's going to be good. And how am I growing from where I was earlier? Everything's in perspective, everything's relative. So I think just recognizing that and just not putting so much pressure on yourself to compare to everyone else, but realizing, just you're doing your best, and that'll be enough.
Thank you. Abby, how about you?
I know I talked about it earlier, but I can't stress enough that it really isn't the end of the world if you don't get into your dream school. If you do, that is amazing. That's just great. But if you don't take it like a huge loss. You honestly are going to find the place that's best for you. And more times than not, you're going to be happy wherever you end up. And it's not the end of the world if you have to transfer, if you don't like where you're at. So don't get too upset if you don't get into that dream school that you've always wanted. It's all going to work out in the end.
Thanks, Abby. Berkeley, how about you? What's your word of wisdom for us?
So my piece of advice for new college students would be that you're going into college for you, not your parents. You need to go to the college that you want to go to. You need to major in what you want to be majoring in. I came in as a student athlete, and to be honest, I really didn't want to. And now I'm just a student. I mean, I will say it did get me into my dream school because my high school grades definitely would not have. But it's something I definitely learned, you're here to, your parents aren't going to be the one using your degree, and your parents aren't going to be the one having the college experience. Do what you want to do, and your parents can help you find what you want to do. So.
Thank you. Cooper, how about you?
I would say don't say no to trying new things when you get to college, because you don't know what you're going to miss out on. And it's better to quit a bunch of clubs than be, a junior and being like, I'm not involved in things and I don't have friends. What do I do? Yeah. So definitely don't say no to things. Don't say no to trying new things. And I would just say be yourself when you get to college, especially at really big schools, out of, 30,000 people, you will find friends and you will find people that will love you for you. So be yourself. And the great part of big schools is there's people for everybody, and there's tons of different types of crowds and different types of people. So be yourself and go for it.
I think that's great. I think there are a lot of high school students who don't necessarily find their people in high school, and they don't feel like they can be fully and comfortably themselves. And college is a place that can really invite you to find yourself and live your truth and your whole self. So I appreciate that very much, Cooper. Thank you. All right, Jane, take us home. What's your piece of advice?
A lot of pressure. I think for me, what I would say is that kind of what they were all saying, like college is really for you. And so for me, for what I wanted to do post graduation, like I want to do educational consulting, which is kind of like a much, it's not as popular as like a pre-med or a, pre-PT or something like that. And so I was really scared to kind of take a more like unconventional path and route because I didn't know anyone who was doing educational consulting or things like that. And so I think like college is so for you and they're trying to help you figure out, your dream job or your dream internship or whatever it is. And so I think it's really important to like push for what you want and make sure it's a reality in your own head, even if you're seeing like your friend go to PT school and, this person moving to New York, like you can do whatever you want to do in college, especially going to a big school, it gives you all of those resources to make that dream become a reality. So I think it's really important to like, put yourself in your own mold and to not try to, shape yourself into doing something that you don't necessarily want to do and really, chase after what, your dream is in college, post graduation, things like that. I think that would probably be my, biggest piece of advice.
I love it. And that'll put you in a good position to give that advice to students when you're working with them. I was also pre-admissions officer, which was not a major that anyone had ever heard of, but that was really what I wanted to do. So be bold, be brave, be yourself, and go for it. Sarah said that you can't win college, but I think that these are students who have won college. You have done a tremendous job representing yourselves and your experiences and your institutions. I thank you so much for sharing your time and energy and your candid insights with us tonight. All of us at Alpha Ruth are grateful for the chance to work with such dynamic students and help them along their journey. If we can be of help to you, I hope you'll reach out to us and let us be part of the journey ahead. We wish you all the best. Good luck in the adventures that are coming. Thanks, everybody, and good night.